Hi everybody, Patrick here from EngineeringShock.com. Today I'm going to show you the video manual for the NRF24L01 Plus shield that I've designed. It's up on Kickstarter. You can check out the Kickstarter link below in the information box. So this is the shield connected to an Arduino Uno. I'm just going to show you how to connect it. It's very simple. You take the shield, line up the top pins with the top pins of your Uno, pop it into place, throw in your NRF24L01 Plus, make sure that it's actually in the correct holes, and that's that. So now what I'm going to do is you can download. There's all sorts of libraries on the internet, but the two main ones I'm using in the sample code. The sample code will be included. Given to those who pledge towards the campaign. But what I'm going to do right now is I'll tell you about the board. There's an indicator LED, 6-pin dip switch for addressing, so I can create code that allows for this one to be a hub, this one to be a receiver, and essentially I can make it so if this address equals this address, this board will receive data from this board. If I have several other shields set up as receivers, I can make it so that all will receive the data that have the correct matching address. And the code that I provide has essentially a quick function that determines what the address is based on the state of the dip switches. The dip switches are hooked up to the analog pins, A0 to A5, for the shield. I've also got a motion sensor NRF module, a wireless relay module, and an 8-button module that can be found at the Kickstarter. So, again, 2 buttons, LED, dip switch, and then you're off to the races. So just for this video, I'm going to use one of the examples from the NRF library, Hello World TX, Hello World RX. I'm going to upload this as a transmitter and this as a receiver, and what it's going to do is every 2 seconds it's going to send a command here. If this module receives it, it will send back data saying OK. If it fails, it will say not OK. And this code was designed by the creator of the library. So I'll upload this one with the receiver code, this one with the transmitter code, and what we'll do is we'll open up the serial monitor while we're running our test, and we'll be able to see the transmission actually happening. And then what I'll do is I'll remove power from the receiver to show you transmission failing. The library where I've taken the Hello World RX code was the RF24 network library. So I'm going to plug this in. This has got the receiver code on it. I'm not using the dip switch or the buttons for this code or even the LED. I'm just uploading the example from the network example, RF24 network example. So now that's receiving because over on my table I've got the transmitter transmitting. Every 2 seconds you'll notice the pin 13 LED blinking, and that's just showing us that a transmission is happening. Now just because it's blinking doesn't mean that the transmission is being received. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the serial monitor. So I've just uploaded 2 pieces of code to 2 Arduino Unos. I've got this plugged into the computer. This is the transmitter, so I'm going to open up the serial monitor and we'll see what's going on. So open the serial monitor. It will say Hello World TX, and it's sending. Now I'll mention something about range in just a minute, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over to my receiver. I'm going to unplug power. And I'll plug it in again. And we get more OKs. So there are ways to make it transmit more than once. What happens is when the unit transmits, if the receiver receives it, it will send back an acknowledgement which tells the transmitter if we've got an OK or a fail. But you can make it so that it retransmits over and over until it gets that acknowledged. There are pieces of code that I'll provide that show you how to do that. Now let's talk about some range for a second. Some 24L01 Plus units require a capacitor along the ground and 3.3 volt pins, but they shouldn't be necessary for the shield because the shield has a 0.1 microfarad ceramic decoupling capacitor and 100 microfarad electrolytic smoothing capacitor, both across the 3.3 volt and ground lines. But you might find that adding a capacitor there directly to the pins on the board smooths out operation. Now, this one has a capacitor on it, this one doesn't, so let's just get those out of the way. You can buy these plug-and-play 24L01 Plus with power amplifier and antenna, and the antenna was pretty sweet. You can have it straight or you can bend it, and they just screw on right here, and you can plug this into your shield or any of the other boards that I'm providing for this Kickstarter campaign. The only problem is you just have to make sure that the underside GPIO pins don't short. So you just add a little piece of insulation between the two, and now you've got an extremely large range, especially if you replace the 24L01 Plus on both ends, so the transmitter and the receiver. I tested with two of these bad boys, and I got about outside I got about 400 meters until things started getting wonky. But that was only sending once versus sending until I get a response. So it's completely up to you how you want to do it. But you can add these. It is plug and play. The pins are the exact same. You just have to make sure that you're not shorting anything on the undersides, because we do have some GPIO pins in the way. The unit was designed as just a 24L01 Plus shield, not with the power amplifier, but the power amplifier is plug and play, so you can add it just as long as you insulate these 5 pins on the underside. This is the antenna connector. An extra decoupling capacitor will be included with each 24L01 Plus that comes with the Kickstarter campaign. Again, the main board has a 100 microfarad electrolytic smoothing capacitor, so you shouldn't need to add a big bulky electrolytic capacitor to the leftmost pins. But again, then the decoupling capacitor is completely up to you. I find that if you do get some wonky-donkey transmission results where you have to transmit more than once to get a response from the receiver, and regardless of what distance, adding a capacitor to the leftmost pins usually makes things a heck of a lot better. So up to you completely. So this has just been the preliminary video manual for the 24L01 Plus shield, which again can be found below at the Kickstarter campaign. There are 3 other boards to go over. Thank you for watching the video. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. Again, links below. Our websites are engineeringshock.com, escaperoomelectronics.com, and vtagtargets.com. Have a great day, everybody.